third assembly assault. So that happened in September, so November 4th, 1979. One of the demonstrators organized the Iranian Student Union, loyal to Khomeini, erupted into an all-out conflict outside of the wall compound housing the U.S. Embassy at 6:30 a.m. The ringleader gathered between 300 and 500 selected students and briefed them on battle plan. The female student was given a pair of metal cutters to break the chains locking embassy gates and hid them beneath her shadow. At first, the student planned symbolic occupation in which they would release statements to the press, leave when the government security force came to restore order and was reflected in placards saying, "Don't be afraid, we just wanted to sit in." When the embassy guards brandished firearms, the protesters retreated with one telling Americans, "We don't mean any harm." But as it became clear the guards would not use deadly force and a large angry crowd had gathered outside the compound to cheer the occupier and jeer the hostages, and the plan changed. According to the embassy staff, members of the bus polo demonstrators began to appear outside the embassy shortly after the Muslim student followers of the Imam's line broke through the gates. As Khomeini's father had hoped, the Khomeini support take over, according to the foreign minister Yazdi, and went to Qom to tell Khomeini about it, and Khomeini told him to go and kick them out. But later that evening, back in Tehran, Yazdi heard on the radio that Khomeini had issued a statement supporting the seizures, calling it a second revolution in the American spy then, and the embassy and American spy then in Tehran. So basically, they called the embassy as an American spy in Tehran. The Marine and embassy staff were blindfolded by the occupier and then paraded in front of the assembly photographers. In the first couple of days, many of the embassy workers who had sneaked out of the compound had not been there in time of the takeover were rounded up by the Islamists and returned as hostages. And six American diplomats managed to avoid capture and went into hiding into one of the diplomats, Robert Anders, called Canadian counterpart John Sheridan seeking help. The group of six stayed in personal homes with two Canadian diplomats. Two of the six stayed in Canadian Ambassador Kenneth Taylor, and the other four stayed in Sheridan's family for 39 days in a joint covert operation known as Canadian Caper. The Canadian government and the CIA managed to smuggle them out of Iran on January 28, 1980, using Canadian passport and cover story that identified them as the film crew. Others went to Swedish embassy in Tehran for 3 months. The State Department diplomatic cable of November 8, 1979 detailed a tentative, incomplete list of U.S. personnel being held in the compound. Motive Man. Yeah, I think that was a Ben Affleck movie. I forgot what it was called, but yeah, yeah, I think that was about that that time period or that event. Um, a State Department diplomatic cable of November 8, 1979 detailed a tentative incomplete of the U.S. personnel being held in the embassy compound. Motive and demand. Muslim students, followers of the Imam line, demanded that the Shah Mohammad Reza return to Iran for trial and execution. The U.S. So they wanted the king, right, that was, you know, doing cancer treatment to come back and then face trial and then to be executed for human rights violations, right? The U.S. maintained that the Shah, who was to die in less than a year later, in July 1980, had come to America for medical attention. The groups Other demands included the U.S. government apologize for its interference in the international affairs of Iran, including the overthrow of the Prime Minister Mossadegh in 1953 and the Iran and that Iran's frozen asset in the United States be released. Yeah, I guess there was a back and forth thing before that, but yeah. So I mean, so I guess the Islamic State took over, the regime took over, and then they had it for 47 years. And apparently, I don't think, um, I guess the Western world, or America, and and maybe all the other superpowers aren't in line with the way the supreme leader of Iran is going about. Um, you know, they use the word colonizing or imperialism, right? But it's the theocrat regime, um, in kind of running the show as far as um, trying to expand. You know what I mean? I think somewhere, um, uh, I think other leaders expressed their concerns about during more recent times. They're concerned about um, the Ayatollahs, before Trump had taken them out. That Khomeini or whatever, right? Or Salamini or whatnot. Like they were expressing that they were kind of this this very hostile uh, regime in the Middle East. That's kind of just like the big bully, right? They even used the word Hitler at some point. So I mean, um, and I think that's where a lot of the conversation is not really showcasing when it comes down to um, the back and forth between the left and right in America. You know what I mean? They're just everyone thinks Israel's the bad guy or whatever, right? And Israel's like, well, we're just defending ourselves, you know. And then everyone's saying that we're taking the bidding from Israel. You know what I mean? Or like Trump is Benjamin Bibi's puppet or whatnot. But it's not right. If you listen to the former general, he's like, yo, it's been going on for 47 years. Listen to Trump, he said the same thing 47 years. And if you do the math, 47 years is 1979. When all this took place right here. But anyway, you know what I mean? What do I know anyways, right? I'm just, the guy that's just trying to learn about everything uh, as I go. So, I mean, yeah, that's all. That's all for me today. You know what I mean? This is what I see, right? This is my intaking of information. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not gonna flower it, right, in any other way. But this is the fact of the matter. This is the truth. You know what I mean? You guys can take it for whatever, but this is historically. This is what